Hi there, this is Charlie at My Messy Fingers. I'm working on another album for Scrap and Create, and it is featuring Graphic 45's Autumn Greetings, and I've got 8x8 plus 12x12 papers, and the ephemera and the chipboard, some ribbon, and some bling. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the album build itself. Now when you wrap an album, you know, I can cut this to 8x8, but when I wrap the album, I'm going to gain a bit of height all the way around from the wrap of the cardstock. And because I use 100-pound weight cardstock, I'm going to gain about 1/8 of an inch. So I want to be able to mat this and then put on the 8x8 paper without having to cut it. So I've actually cut these 8 1/8 by 8 1/8. You'll want 2 of them. And then my spine piece is 8 1/8 by 1 7/8. This will allow us 2 working pages that will support 4 signatures, and then you're going to have these 2 panel pieces, which will give you 2 more signatures for a total of 8. So I use TYVEK. If you've followed me on other videos, you know that I use this for binding the outside of my chipboard, because this TYVEK is very resilient, it's almost tear-proof, and it allows the cardstock to glide over the TYVEK, and this is a shipping envelope, just in case you don't know what, and it's TYVEK. And this then floats and rubs over the sharp edges of the chipboard. So I have been using this now for a couple of years, and I have not run into any issues with my cardstock, my seams tearing. Doesn't mean you won't, but I haven't. All right, so because I trimmed this, I need to make sure, see that's 8 1/8, and that's 8 1/8. I just need to make sure I got these cut right. Okay. And let me double check this one real quick. 8 1/8. All right, so I'm going to lay this piece first. Get this off of here. It also takes the tape very well. Now, oh, I forgot. These are 2 inches across. And then I score them at 7/8 and at 1 1/8. And that way it allows me a 1/4 inch gusset that's going to rest in between my chipboard pieces. And when I lay this down, I'm laying it down right on top of the score mark. So then when this piece gets added on, it's going to look like this. I'm going to have a 1/4 inch gusset. But first I have to take the tape off the back side. And let's burnish this down real good. Okay, so now we're going to add this piece. Now I'm going to use my grid down here to make sure that I'm going straight. I gotta get the papers out of the way. I can't move. All right, line me back up here. My hands aren't so steady this morning. Okay. Now I'm going to add this piece to the spine. And I'm lining this up over here on the grid and across the bottom, so I make sure that I'm straight. Very good. Now let's put this piece on. So I'm going to line it up on my grid. Line it up here. And then I'm going to come in here and line it up. Something's sticking. All right. Now, to wrap this, like I said, I'm using 100-pound weight, and because it's the rust color I like, it really goes with a lot of Graphic 45 colors. I'll show you here. So you see this beautiful rust that's in here? This rust color really blends well with it. Now I get this at Cardstock Warehouse. It's out of their color plan color, and it's called Rust. It comes in 25 sheets, so it's going to be about 14 some bucks for 25 sheets of 100-pound weight. They don't offer it in anything less. So if you can find it comparable, now they do charge $9.99 for shipping, so make your shipping worth it, because I've gotten as many as four different colors, and I'm still paid $9.99. Cardstock Warehouse is also on Amazon, and if you're a Prime member, you can get it shipped to you free. However, please note that they do add shipping onto their price, and then they offer you free shipping. I caught that because I've ordered from them now for about 5 years. So I found them on Amazon, and I ordered some stuff from it, was free shipping, but by the time I compared the prices, and I had to wait, because if you're ordering it from Amazon, you're going to wait a little bit longer to get it from their warehouse versus going to their warehouse direct. So there's my pitch. There's my color. Now we're going to move on. Now if I've cut these right, I'm adding 1 inch on each side, so I'm going to be at 10 1/8 in height. But in my width, I want to add 1 inch on each end, and I am using a 3/8 inch seam. So when these two come together, I want this in the middle, because I don't want that seam anywhere near the gussets, because that seam can become a weak point. So I want that seam as dead center to the spine as I can get it. And that way I don't have to worry about this tearing or catching on any of this. My measurements, I think they're the same. This one measures in at 10 inches. And this one here, this one here measures in at 10 1/2. You're going to lose 3/8 here. So it's going to be 1/8 wider, so it's no big deal. That can be absorbed on each end very easily. So like I said, I'm using 3/8 inch for my seam. Now I want to put this on here before I go any farther with the paper, but to do that I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to put tape on the back side of this. I'm going to use 1/2" tape here and here, and then I'm going to use 1/4" tape because it's cheaper. For the rest of the body. I use 1/2" tape here because I don't want the paper lifting, and I want it to have plenty of support here because there's going to be a lot of flexion. Now, if this is your first time making an album, you're going to use a lot of tape. So I'm just forewarning you. We want to make sure that that paper stays down against the chipboard. So I put one here at the end, one in the middle, and then I'm going to go in the middle of each section again. This way I feel like I've got good coverage that that cardstock is going to stay up against the chipboard. So we're going to turn around, we're going to come down here, and then in the middle, and then in the middle again. All right, so this is my back. Well, it's the front really, but it's the back side where I'm working on it. Burnish, and now we're going to turn this over. Before I do anything else on this piece, I'm going to take, oh, that's almost empty. Excuse me while I make some crinkly noises. I'm going to run 1/2" tape around the perimeter. See, that ran out real fast, but I want to use every inch that I can get off that roll. This is what's going to be folded over the inside edge of the album. And because it's 100-pound weight, if you can find a lighter weight that is a nice deep, a nice rust color, that would work. That's great. It's just that I'm so hooked on this particular color. All right. Okay. Now I'm also going to run tape around here, but I want to get this on. And by putting these 1/2" on the ends, it helps me to guide to make sure that I've got it's kind of balanced. So I'm going to center this. I'm going to palm this, keep some weight on it, some pressure. I don't want it to move. And then I'm going to lay this down. All right, now we're going to pull the rest of this. Now, important part here, because this TYVEK is squishy, it can twist on you. I want you to do a gentle pull so that this gusset stays open, and then you're going to lay it down. Because if you don't, you could get it crossing like this if you're not paying attention, and then you've got a mucky mess. You've got to try to undo all this. So always pull, a gentle pull to stretch that TYVEK out and that gusset so that it stays open. Press her down. All right, now I'm going to take 3/8 inch tape, and I'm going to run right along the inside of the chipboard edges. Takes some time to do this, but if you do it, it's going to be done right. I just ran out of tape again. Okay, some more scrunchy noises. You'd think it would have lasted just an inch and a half longer. All right. Get your air pockets out, get that tape down in there. Okay. Now I'm going to miter my corners. Get my miter tool out. And I'm sure you have your own miter tools. I think my craft knife is getting a little dull. There we go. Now this is the hardest part for me because it's 100-pound weight. So I am going to pull this up and over to start breaking that fiber. And I'm going to do it all the way around. I discovered lately that if I do this first, get some good break in that, it makes it easier when I go to pull it over. All right, I'm gonna burnish this right up against the chipboard, flatten it out a little bit, and then I'm going to start picking some of this up. When this folds over, it's going to come over here, and I don't want it covering up the tape. But I'm not ready to pull the rest of it off. Come off there. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. All right. One last go, and then starting at the center and moving out to the corner. And then I'm going to smash and turn these corners in. All right, so now let's pull up the tape off this end. Well, not the tape, but the paper on the tape. You knew what I meant. Give it a good burnish. And then the center out. And then I'm going to push this in and flatten it down on both corners. And then flatten that out and over it goes. Oh, come on. Why is that giving me... Oh, I see why. I was at the end of the roll there, and I've actually got a little bit of paper underneath there. And because I don't want to take that tape up, I'm just going to give a little bit of squirt of glue, and that will hopefully do the trick. I think it will. Okay, burnish that good up against the chipboard. Start in the middle. And go to the end. Now, one thing that I do when I get this far is I've got this paper that's sitting here, and yes, I can fold this, but what I get is kind of a bunched up, and I don't want that. There's going to be another layer going over this. So very gently, I find the edge of the chipboard, and I'm just going to gently press this in there so that this cardstock, there's tape on this, so the cardstock will actually adhere to the inside of this. Now, you can't press very hard. I have on many occasions pressed too hard and ended up with minor tear, and the only thing I can do when that happens, because I'm not wasting the cardstock and taking all this work apart, the only thing I can do is take some of my glue. It dries clear, and put it in there. Here it won't show because there's going to be another layer. Sorry, I've got allergies for some reason today acting up. But when we put the next layer on, that's the layer. We want to be careful because we're going to be running the entire length. All right, so the next piece that's going to go in here is the piece that's going to cover this spine. Now, this piece, I cut it at 8 inches, and I've got maybe 1/16 of an edge on each end, and that's from the wrap of the paper. So this is, I've measured this in at 6 across by 8 in its height. I am going to tape around the perimeter here, and then I'm going to tape the inside of this. And I'm going to run 1 bead of tape down each side here. You know what, I got to blow my nose real quick here, I'm sorry. So if you will hang tight, I'll step away. Thank you, I apologize. Okay, we're going to run 1 piece out here. This will help keep it from lifting when we go to fold over at the ends. And then I'm going to do one right down the middle. Now I used 3/8 inch there. I'm going to use 1/2 inch tape here. Okay. The first one I'm going to pick up is this one. I want to be able to get this pieced in here. I want to try and get equal sides on this. And because I know the height, I know what to watch for down here for placement. And once I think I've got equal parts, then I can commit that piece. Now, this is going to be a little tough to get in here because of how thick this cardstock is, but I will make it work. Now I'm not ready to press and commit the tape yet because I want to take the tape off the outer edges. When I go to push this in to fill in that gusset, it's going to pull the paper in. So I'm just going to kind of gently lay this, and then I'm going to find where my edge of my chipboard is. This one here is always the hardest one to find. And I'll go over this a couple of times. And then I'm okay with putting that down against the tape. All right, now we're gonna go over here and find this one. Now I'm pressing probably harder than I need to or should be. So if you're using a lighter weight chipboard, please be cautious. This is where you can really punch a hole. And I'll show you why I like to do this here in 2 shakes. Okay, now we'll go ahead and take the rest of the tape off. Now I've got some tape overhang. I'm going to just kind of push that underneath there. There we go. So now when I close this, I've got nice tight corners. I don't have a bunch of cardstock bunching up in the center. And I love this thing because it's almost the perfect width just to kind of go in there and rub it down. Now the next step are our pages, and I don't pre-cut these because I need to know what I did here and make sure it's going to fit. So bear with me real quick while I cut 2 pieces that are 8 inches in height. All right, now I'm going to score each end at 5/8 of an inch. I like to do build-ups, so I want that room to do that, and to do that, 1/2 inch gussets don't seem to work real well for me. Oh, I just did that wrong. Well, quit talking, Charlie. 5/8 of an inch. Score both of these at 5/8 of an inch. Now, to know how long I want this part of this page to be, I'm going to put this right up next to the seam. I'm going to stand this up. Because I do build-ups, I can come out as much as 1/4 of an inch, so I'm going to back up about 3/8 of an inch. And that's where I'm going to make my cut mark. So this ends up cutting at 8.5 inches in length. Okay, by 8 inches. And you want 2 of them. So I'm going to cut these 2 here at 8.5 inches. There's 1. There's 2. Get out my 1/2 inch tape. Now for placement, you can see roughly that I've got my chipboard edges marked here. Oh, you know what I need to do? Huh? There. Okay. I'm going to follow this edge. I'm going to back off of it just ever so slightly, and that's where I'm going to place this. Now hopefully that laid down fairly straight. Now this next one, I'm going to butt right up underneath that seam. And I'm not going to press the tape very hard because I need to make sure that when I flip this over that it's on there straight. Look at that. I haven't had that happen in a long time. Okay, let's give her a good burnish. All right, so there are our pages. We have 1/8 of an inch gusset in between. This one always looks larger because we've got this seam here, but it's fine. It's a visual thing. Now, I'm not covering these panels because it's a waste of cardstock. All we're going to do is cover this up with designer paper. So that is it. Your next video will be to work on the outside build on this. So I'll see you then.